Hi, this is Jon Land for Book Trib. Here's what Reader's Digest had to say about Hard Bargain. A stunning tale of survival at sea, Hard Bargain is a riveting and relentless read of rare depth and pathos that is not to be missed. And I'm here today with the author, Donald Denihan. Donald, welcome to Book Trib TV.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
And you know, I've written over 60 books. A lot of them have been collaborations. But this is the first time I've ever interviewed someone that I've collaborated with. So it's a real treat for me. I hope I get the questions right. Starting with, why did you write Hard Bargain?
Many reasons, John, but I think one of the biggest reasons that I did is I wanted to get my story out there to help others talk about their hard bargains in life, whatever they may be. As you know, as you read my book, you'll see that there's the Lost at Sea, my battle with cancer. I was shot as a young boy, but we all have hard bargains. And this book was more about, why is it that I survived, and can I help somebody else help themselves?
When you think about your mission statement and the reasons why you started the book, based on what you just said about helping people deal with their hard bargains. When you look back from where you started to where we are now that the book Hard Bargain is available, did you accomplish what you wanted to? Did you accomplish what you set out to do?
Yes. And if it wasn't for you, I don't think it would have been in the format that I wanted. I mean, I went through a couple of other authors, and you were able to take what was really the spirit of what I was trying to get at. It wasn't a fishing story, and it wasn't a hunting story, and it wasn't a cancer story. It was more of a big picture. Why? What is the reason that I've survived? What is, what is that purpose, if you would, in life, other than just telling my story? And you were great. Kudos to you that of being able to take my verbiage and put it into a writing, and that the average person, meaning that they're not a fisherman or not a cancer survivor, could understand and reflect upon in their own lives.
Many people who pen memoirs like this in Hard Bargain based on actual events call the process cathartic, eye-opening, almost like therapy. What did you enjoy the most about the process of writing Hard Bargain?
Reliving my life, reliving a lot of the demons, if you would, or the tough choices and thoughts that went through my head and through my family's head. So it was very therapeutic for me. It was it was very hard. It wasn't I wouldn't say fun, but it was very, at the end, it's my issues or my stories or my thoughts have really become more clearer for me.
The book is a journey, and I just thought of this. The book is a journey about survival. Writing the book, based on what you just said, was a journey of self-discovery. Did anything you learn about yourself in the course of writing the book, or after you started getting responses to the book, did anything surprise you, or what surprised you the most?
Never give up. Sometimes the hardest, I'm a doer, right? And I'm one of those guys that I always have to, I'm a man in perpetual, as my wife says, I'm a man in perpetual motion. And some of the hardest things to do is to do nothing and let nature take its course. So I've learned the hard way that sometimes, letting things play itself out or just sitting on the sidelines observing is you're doing something, as much as you don't feel that you're not doing anything.
In Hard Bargain, you write with a very honest approach, a very open approach. You're bearing your soul. As you know, my favorite line in the book, or my favorite image in the book, is your wife Deirdre going to the pharmacy, going to the drugstore, and in one aisle she's buying diapers for your newborn, and in the other aisle she's buying diapers for you. And this is after the middle section of the book when you were dealing with a very aggressive form of prostate cancer at the age, I believe, of only 37 years old.
That's correct.
It was the second of these three life crises that you encountered. What was it like was it hard to revisit such painful parts of your life? And did you find it difficult to bare your soul the way you did?
You know, John, what I realized and reflecting on what you just said about with my wife, I think the hard thing is and I don't mean this in any way it's how it's going to sound, but I'll just say it. I think it's easier on the person going through the actual situation than it is on the people that love them around them. And I realized after that, when Deirdre had made that point, that the amount of pain and worry that she had through that process. And we all at times don't realize that survivors, while they go through tremendous amount of agony and pain and PTSD, but the actual people around them that are their family members and support and friends are suffering as well. And they need as much support and love as we do at the same time.
A lot of people go through their whole lives and never experience one life crisis. You've experienced three. The hunting accident in which you were shot 3 times, nearly dying of an aggressive form of prostate cancer. Then, of course, the climactic section of the book, nearly half of the book, is the seagoing adventure, tragedy, near tragedy, when you're trapped, marooned, stuck at sea in the midst of a killer storm. Looking back on that, if you had to say what the number one thing you learned about yourself from those 3 incidents, what stands out the most about what you learned about you?
I'm a strong-willed guy. It's hard for me to say that, right? Because I'm very modest at the same time, and that book is almost contrary to who I am in a way that I don't share a lot. And I look at why is it that I've survived these 3 terrible events, and what is the purpose? What is what did God have in mind that I didn't? And that's one of the big reasons I wrote that book, is because I really want to help other people to talk about their pain. And this book, it's created great dialogue, with various people that, it's not about me. That at the end of it, I want people to read this book and say, they reflect upon their stuff. And that to me was the gift that I was given by having those 3, I know that sounds very strange, but those 3 life-altering events, that was my gift. My gift was to be able to live another day, to tell my story, to help someone else possibly live another day as well.
We brought this book out specifically for Father's Day. And at its heart, I think the book evolved into a father-son story about you and your father. To me, the emotional backbone, the emotional core of Hard Bargain is you and your dad. Was this something that was planned when we sat down to work on the book, or do you think it emerged organically, almost like it was something you needed to get out?
John, it was the night. It's funny. The night that I was lost at sea, my father at that time had been, my dad died. It's got to be well over 35, maybe 40 years ago. And that night, my father spent the night with me. So when I started this book, I had no idea whatsoever that how it was going to get implemented. That era of people, in that World War II and the Great Depression area and hard work and commitment is what my father's generation has allowed us to be able to, live a great life. And my dad, it's interesting, not that he's running me from the grave, but his going back and reading a lot of my notes brought me back to, as my wife always says, people do the best they can given what they know at the time. And I feel that I'm very appreciative of my father because I learned a lot of things of what not to repeat, and things that I'd like to implement with my own children. And my kids hopefully will repeat or find things they don't want to repeat with me, with their children. So it's the learning that came from that. And again, your ability to help me verbalize this, John, it kind of brought it to the fruition and placing a good portion of that in my dad. And my dad is someone that, God rest his soul. And, as Father's Day come, we all are appreciative of the fathers that we have met, not just our own individuals, but other people that have been very influential in our lives.
To me, in working with this book with you, the experience at sea wasn't really an ending of anything. It was the beginning of something. You got back from a literal storm, from nearly losing your life in one storm, and not long after that, Superstorm Sandy hit your region. And I think that was the transformational moment at sea, when you got back and faced a second storm that devastated the lives of so many people. You jumped into action, and you put your money where your mouth is. You established something called the God is Good Fund to give back to people, to help people lift themselves up. Talk about the Superstorm Sandy experience and why you established the God is Good Fund.
Things happen for a reason. I was inspired and motivated when that storm hit because it really struck home in terms of the devastation, what Mother Nature can do and how powerful it is. So I reached out to some people that I know who hooked me up with this priest down in Long Beach. And I don't believe in coincidences, but I know this is going to sound a little quirky, but his name was Father Donald. So boom, okay, that Father Donald, not many people named Donald. So that attracted me. And I said to him, I said, Father, I specifically said, take me to somebody who's lost. I want to have an elderly woman who's just lost her husband that I can help. So Donald, it's very hard. There's so many people. I said, just take me. So he takes me to this woman, Sandy, of all names, right?
Yes.
So Sandy told me her story. Sandy was in her home. Her son was in a wheelchair. He was a paraplegic, and he took the water up to his chest during that storm while she watched him from the attic above. Wow. So I left there exactly. That was my impression. It's like, oh my God, what's that? So I said, Father, take me, see, I got one other person that you need to go to. I said, I don't know, Father, I don't have the funds to do all this. I said, we got to choose. So he takes me to the Troy family. And the Troys was, the gentleman's name. What's that?
Chris.
Yeah, Chris Troy. He was a firefighter, and of all things, helping others. And I met him and his beautiful family, his wife, and his son, Connor. And Connor was suffering from some sort of I don't know the technical term, but a disease that was going to take his life. And he was in a wheelchair. And I left there and I said, Father, you got to choose. I don't have the funds to do both. He goes, I can't choose. I said, all right, I'm going to do both. And we rebuilt. I brought many of my children, my relationships I've had with contractors, friends, family, and we went and we rebuilt their house and we put them back in, both people back in the facility. And I was brought, it's funny how this worked because it wasn't planned this way. Again, nothing happens by accident. The Huffington Post picked up the fact that there was some good Samaritan that was doing this. Would I be interested in being interviewed? And I didn't want to, but I thought for the bigger picture, I said, this is the calling. The calling is to help others in time of need. And Chris Troy was one of those, as well as Sandy was one of those people that needed the help. And Chris specifically and his wife had a very hard time accepting that help because they were always helping others in the community.
Perfect segue to what might be our final question. on Hard Bargain. What do you want people to take from this book? What do you want them when they finish, when they turn that last page, close the book, and they're holding it in their hands and they're thinking? What do you want them to be thinking about? What do you want them to take from Hard Bargain?
I hope that this helps people make this world a better place. Pretty simple. I think that's my simple answer, John. And how is that? Inner reflection. It all starts with ourselves. It all starts with looking within ourselves and how do we make our world a better place for everybody?
When I think about what you just said, and I think about those hours and hours stranded at sea in the water, clinging to a capsized boat, having to worry about a friend, one of your closest friends who couldn't swim. So you had the added, I think about that challenge and how you came out of it. There are just so many lessons. Last question, it just occurred to me. Last question before we go. We stumbled upon the title Hard Bargain.
Mm-hmm.
What does the title Hard Bargain mean to you?
We're all given these challenges in our life, and the hard bargain is how we address, and that is everybody's own way of what's a bargain, right? Like you can take your, complain about your issues that you have, or you can turn something into, hey, wow, I got a great bargain.
Donald, it was a pleasure working with you. It was on Hard Bargain, a pleasure interviewing you today. And if you're looking for a great adventure read in the tradition of Into the Wild, In the Heart of the Sea, The Perfect Storm, this is the one. I'm not exactly the most objective, but I am Jon Land for Book Trip TV.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald.